everyone. Welcome back to Anmoll Astrology channel. Now today's video is about Venus transit in the nakshatra of Pushya. I have made a video earlier about what is Venus in the nakshatra of Pushya. You can watch that. And then today we are going to discuss about what this transit is going to do in the nakshatra of Pushya. Venus is going to transit into the nakshatra of Pushya on 9th of July at 9:44 p.m. and it is going to stay there for 11 days till 20th of July 2024. Okay, so let's just quickly open the Muhurta chart for this transit. So, this particular Muhurta chart is very much similar to the theme of Venus being in the nakshatra of Pushya. Pushya is the nakshatra ruled by Saturn. So it talks about that sacrifice. It talks about stability of relationships. It talks about service towards a relationship. So that's what is very much visible in this Muhurta chart. So for these 11 days, relationships can be very much about being at service because Saturn is in the ascendant and it is retrograde. Remember, Saturn being the nakshatra lord, it is retrograde. So it talks about that there is going to be a selfless sacrifice that everyone has to make, which is not actually going to be quite prominent because it is going to appear like it is very usual and it is very common thing that it must be there in a relationship. But of course, there is going to be a lot of support emotionally within the relationships because Moon is in the seventh and Saturn is in the opposition. When Saturn is over Moon, Saturn is conjunct Moon, that talks about pressurizing Moon. But when Saturn is opposite to Moon, that talks about Moon receiving the support from Saturn. So this actually talks about that relationships, and since Venus is in the sixth house while it is in the nakshatra of Pushya and it is conjunct Mercury in Ashlesha, there has to be a lot of communication. There has to be a lot of decisions that are going to be driven out of emotions. And it's all about being at service. There is going to be healing in your workspace, in your work, not just relationship, but your relationships and your interactions within your workspace. Everyone would be inclined towards working hard in their relationship. There is not going to be any ignorance towards relationship. So people are going to talk about their conflicts within the relationship in the need of resolving them. Okay, so that's what this Muhurta chart is telling us. Then, along with that, since Mars is in the third house, a person, if you are in a relationship, it will actually give you a very impulsive communication, and also your actions will be impulsive towards the relationship. Now, you would want to take actions if things would have been stagnant earlier. This also reflects that this Mars being in the nakshatra of Kritika, it is going to give you immense courage to deal with ups and downs of a relationship. And along with that, you have Sun in the fifth house that basically illuminates your intelligence and wisdom towards everything that you are going to do in your surroundings or in your life in general. Right? Then Jupiter is in the fourth house. This is actually giving me the vibe, this Muhurta chart of Venus transiting into the nakshatra of Pushya. It is giving me a very stable foundation. Even though you are not a person who is at service, who is a service oriented individual in a relationship, or who is a very nurturing or caregiver person in a relationship, but now you would want to be that. You would develop that sense of doing something for your partner, for doing something more with your actions towards your partner for these 11 days. So there's a lot of healing that I see. Rather, along with healing, there are a lot of good actions towards relationships. And also, it talks about ambition, it talks about work life is also going to be at the key area. And if you have watched my previous video, Venus in Pushya Nakshatra, you would know that Venus in Pushya talks about balance between work life and between your relationships. Okay. So that is about the explanation for about the Muhurta chart. Now, this was also the explanation for the sign of Aquarius. For Aquarius individuals, they can actually have a practical mindset towards their relationships. They might act a little hot and cold within the relationship. Sometimes they are going to reflect their emotions, but sometimes they are going to act cold. But definitely, these people would want to attach emotionally within their relationships, and they would want to discover the romantic side of relationships. Along with that, they would want to be at service to their partner. They would also be equally involved in their work, and they would want to take action towards their work area. So there is too much of, I do see they will put on their energy and efforts towards every area of their life, right? Another thing now for Pisces individual. So for Pisces individual, Venus is coming into the fifth house. That's the house of creativity and romance. But along with that, they are going through a major self transformation. Although they are going through a transformative period where they are going to go for self love over a relationship, but during this time these people can become very sensitive about the other person. For these 11 days, they can have an open mind towards a relationship. They can be, and even their partner is now, regardless of Ketu in the seventh house, they have been very judgmental, they have been very blunt and criticizing. But for this time, they might develop the sense of love and compassion towards you. So this time, although the time for the whole of the transits have actually been a lot heavier on you, but these particular 11 days can be a little good on the side of relationships. Along with that, since your moon at that point goes into the sixth, it's very much service oriented, and you will also receive support from foreign lands and also support from into legal activities, right? Recognition could also be there through foreign lands or at overseas. Okay. Also, you would want to learn something related to finances, financial investment, and you would want to also provide your family with finances. You would want to, decrease your own expenditure so as to provide for the family, right? And also you would want to manage your finances at this point. So your energy is going to be very much involved in family, in love and relationships. Then the sign of Aries. So for the sign of Aries, these individuals are going to be on a go. This month is actually, since Mars is in the ascendant in the sign of Aries, they are all on the go. They are all up for all the activities in their life. They are up for adventure, right? And at the same time, Venus is in the fourth in Pushya. They would want to beautify their home, and also they would want to get their hair colored, or they would want to have some change to beautify their appearance. Okay. Along with that, these people would have a lot of expenditure at this point of time. Maybe that expenditure has to be on beautifying the home or beautifying themselves. And also, since Jupiter is in the second house, they would also have to provide the family. Along with that, they are going to get recognized within their workspace as well. But they are going to be very adamant and opinionated with whatever they are going to do or whatever thoughts they are going to have. right? Next is the sign of Taurus. So for the sign of Taurus, this particular transit of Venus in Pushya is happening in the third house. So Venus in the third house talks about efforts, balance. You would want to balance your relationship with your close friends, with your younger siblings as well. And you will be able and you would want to be at service towards these relationships so as to mend them. And you would be communicative as well, and you would take decisions for, emotional, emotion decisions full of emotion towards these things, right? And since Mars is in the 12th house, a lot of, Mars when goes into the 12th house, even though it's in a fiery sign, it does make you get angry really quickly, but also settle down really quickly. But also, in being in the 12th house, it would want you to suppress your emotions to some extent. I would rather say unnecessary emotions will be suppressed. So that would actually make you lead towards the path of being at service to your partner and towards other relationships in your life. And since Moon is in the fourth house at the same time in Magha, you would want to be closer to the family. You would want to do something to help your family and the ones you love, right? And Jupiter in the first house, you would understand something which is wisdom oriented and which is about the truth of life. Okay, then for the sign of Gemini, Venus is transiting in the second house in the nakshatra of Pushya. You would want to balance your family life and your work life, since Rahu is in the 10th as well, along with Sun in the first. You would want to gain respect and recognition. This time is actually very good for you. The month of July is very good because the transits are working really in your favor. It would also initiate a travel for you. There could be a long distance travel, overseas travel, or if you are planning to travel for studies, you can also travel at that time, right? So Pushya, Venus being in Pushya in the second house also talks about that you are going to be, you are going to try different food of different cultures. And also you would miss your traditional food as well at this point. So maybe that is what the traveling is about. Right. Along with that, your moon is going to be in the third house. Emotionally, you can be a little assumptuous at this point, but this Venus is going to balance that assumptuous nature because your focus is going to be about working hard, being at service towards your family, towards your finances as well. So although you'll be trying to balance your finances, along with that you would also spend on things which are of luxury in nature. Okay. And also, you would make friends which are influential or from whom you can get help within your career. Now, the sign of Cancer. So, for the sign of Cancer, this transit is happening in the first house. You yourself would feel that intense emotions, intense in a good sense, not like Scorpion intense, but intense like you would feel the emotions right now. You would want to have the communicative time, the loving time with your partner at this point. And you would, since you will have Moon at the same time in the second house, you would express your emotions through your speech, and you would also become emotional buyer at this point for this particular time, for these 11 days. But again, there is recognition, there's a lot of knowledge that you would want to accumulate through social media, through internet, and through gurus who can be living overseas. Okay, then this transit also talks about working really hard towards relationships and also towards career specifically. I do see whatever hard work you are going to get into your career, you are going to be recognized for that. You are going to take the responsibility of career. This also actually talks about promotion. So I do see that there can be either change in your job or your status in the job. Okay. Then next would be the sign of Leo. So for the sign of Leo, this transit is happening in the 12th house. 12th house Venus is actually exalted, but you would feel at this point, you would feel that you want to devote yourself spiritually. So you would also, if we talk about relationships, you would feel a little more flirtatious within your relationships, and you would want to spend a romantic, isolated time with your partner at this point. Also, along with that, there can be travel and there can be secretive activities as well. But those secretive activities can be, just so as to find that spiritual urge. For example, you're meditating or you're going to some place or which is related to pilgrimage, right? And also it talks about taking action towards what you believe in, right? Emotionally you can feel a little cold but very, very practical. You are, of course, because Saturn is in the 7th house, you will be receiving a lot of criticism from other people. But right now, when Saturn is actually retrograde and then Venus is in the 12th house, you may feel cold about all these judgments. So these judgments would not work on you. They would not take a negative take on you. Okay. And since Sun is in the 11th house at the same point, there could be gains through a authoritative figure or your father. And since Jupiter is in the 10th house, again, there could be an opportunity of taking over your career or taking a higher step towards the career. Right. Next would be the sign of Virgo. So for Virgo people, this transit of Venus is happening in the 11th house. There can be gains through feminine and also younger feminine through sisters or your daughter, right? It also represents that you are going to develop relationships, as in friendships, through your social networking circle, because that is going to help you with your work area. You would also, this also talks about promotion and recognition in work, because Sun is in the 10th and then the 10th Lord is actually in the 11th right now in Ashlesha Nakshatra. So you will use your expertise, your studies, because of Jupiter in ninth, you would use your wisdom and knowledge so as to progress in your career. But emotionally, you can feel very isolated and unexpressive at this point, right? And also there would be some secret actions, or you would just be secretive about the actions you want to take at this point of time, because you have Mars in the 8th house, right? And also there could be some travel if you are seeking for a PR, or if you are seeking for some legal activity to surface or legal thing to get done with. It could be that, because it actually reflects about getting a visa or getting or traveling to a distant land also, right? But overall it is about gaining through relationships and also being at service to not just your partner in a relationship, but socially also, so working towards the society also. Now the sign of Libra. So for the sign of Libra, this is happening in the 10th house. There is going to be, you are going to try to balance your work life and your personal life. There could be an interaction with a female which could be younger to you and could be your colleague. So there can be a romantic encounter with them. And since Mars is in the 7th house, all your energy is about partnership and unionship, right? Along with that, Saturn is activating your 5th house and it is retrograde right now. So definitely talks about a love encounter, either through your social circle or through your work environment. Along with that, your fortune is actually going to be on your side with all respects, with all areas of your life. Since you have Sun in Gemini in the 9th house, you would also want to seek higher knowledge at this time. You'll be more research oriented at this time. So maybe you'll search online for videos related to astrology. Okay, astrology, mythology, occult. Now, next would be, and also you would become very spiritual at this time. Now, for Scorpio. So for Scorpio, this particular transit is happening in the ninth house. That means relationships for these 11 days are going to teach you something. They are going to teach you to be at service. They are going to teach you to mend how to balance your work life and your relationship. So there's a lot of life learning lessons that you're going to go through. Along with that, your moon is in the 10th. So that's why there can be fluctuations, but there would be requirement of creativity or bringing in something new, transformative knowledge or transformative things or creative endeavors within your career. So if you already have a career regarding XYZ, anything, you would just want to introduce something new, which is very transformative and innovative in nature. Along with that, a little bit chaos is going around with your intelligence, and your intelligence can right now prove out to be good, although because of Rahu you might want to take, just random decisions. So this is actually the time to retrospect your decisions right now, and this Venus is going to make you enjoy, make you have good experiences, make you travel also, make you go for vacation also, but also it would want you to learn some lesson here. Okay, now next would be the sign of Sagittarius. For Sagittarius, this Venus is happening in the 8th house. First of all, it talks about that there is going to be some balance and increment in the wealth of your spouse, and also it talks about balancing of your relationship with your in-laws. And Venus and Mercury in the 8th house, that shows that you would want to have a pleasurable experience with your partner, since Sun is also in the 7th house. And then Sun in the 7th house can also bring up some people from the past, because it is in the nakshatra of Punarvasu. But right now, your intelligence is quite quick. So you will be able to take quick decisions, and you might also have secretive communications with some, with people in general. It could be your past friends, or it could be your past relationships. Then Jupiter is in the 6th house. Along with that and Saturn in the 3rd house, that means that you're going to be very much involved into your work, but your work is going to be more about you researching on something and then presenting it out in public, but you will feel a little bit of disappointment through your work, and for that you would go more into the research area, more towards the 8th house area. Since moon is in the 9th house, you would develop an interest to learn about mythology, to learn about higher knowledge, and also to incline a little bit towards spirituality, right? Then the last would be the sign of Capricorn. So for the sign of Capricorn, this is happening in the 7th house. So this is actually a very romantic time for you people. You have Jupiter in the 5th house, which is actually illuminating your 5th and your 11th house. So there can be an instance of romance in your life. If not romance, you would just feel the urge to have a romantic encounter, and you would feel emotional about your relationships, right? Along with that, Mars is in the 4th house. Your energy is totally to in an emotional zone, so you would want to mend your relationships with your family, with the ones you love, with your partner, and everyone you can think of in regards to relationships. Of course, there could be lack of proper efforts because of Rahu in the 3rd house, but this Venus would want you to make those efforts. And unlike of you, because since you have Saturn in the 2nd house, you have actually shut down your communication because of the amount of criticism that you have gotten earlier. But this Venus will tell you that it is very much necessary to build a communication so as to build a foundation of your relationships. So communication and service and sacrificial nature is very much necessary for these 11
this
days
was
for
my
you.
analysis about the transit of Venus in the nakshatra of Pushya. If you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you guys would like to have your personal readings from me, you can check out the link below, www.anmollastrology.com. And under the reading section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. And under the unique reading section, you can book a unique reading for yourself. See you with the next video. Bye bye. Take care.